for a number of years. The government rents it and operates it, buying it back over time. You see, it happens even in Nigeria. Private firms would construct or provide or produce goods or services for a while. Then after a while, government will take charge. Government will buy it from them. It will be nationalized. Do you get the point there?
No.
Government does collaboration with private sectors now.
Yes.
Because government might not have that financial capability. Some private sectors do have. So they have agreement, they have bonds together. That, we're going to construct this hospital. We're going to build this hospital. We're going to run it for the next 10 years. After 10 years, government have to buy it from us and we leave it for the government or for the public.
So
do you get it?
They will benefit from the hospital and then will buy it.
Government will then buy it and it becomes public good. Is it clear?
Yes.
That is government as producers. Do you see how government becomes producers there?
Yes.
So now we go to government as an employer. The government employs workers and managers to operate its state-owned enterprises. Employing people helps the government to achieve some of its aims of the economy. To reduce unemployment, the government can employ more workers. To control rises in prices, the government can limit wage rises of its own workers and the price charged by its enterprises. It can also set an example in terms of employment practice by, for instance, providing its workers with good quality training, preventing discrimination, and ensuring good pensions to its workers. Government can also be an employer. And if government wants to, because one of the government aims is to reduce unemployment. And for government to reduce unemployment, government has to employ. So government can be an employer too, by employing more workers into their parastatals. That is what they are saying here. So to do that, government have to build more institutions, more enterprises. They have to invest on more enterprises to be able to employ workers. Because if they are able to do that, workers will have more income. People will have more income, which is good for the economy. So if government thinks that a lot of people, the demand in the economy is increasing, government could reduce the wages of workers with regulations, with laws. Do you get it?
Yes.
And for government can also help by giving training and education to their workers to make them more efficient. So this is government as an employer. Government would employ workers. Government would create institutions. Government would decide wages. Government could increase or reduce wages with reference to how the economy is or the economic situation. And government could provide training and education for their workers to be more efficient. Is it clear?
Yes.
So the role of government at an international level. No, we're talking about international now. We're talking about the role of government within countries. Some government promote free international trade, allowing firms to export and import what they want. Other government place restrictions on what can be purchased from and sold to other countries.
Regulation.
When we talk about the role of government at an international level, it's either it is free trade or trade barriers. Free trade is the same as international trade. And when there is restriction of trade, it means there's a trade barrier. So that means export and import is not free. It's not accessible.
They have tax on it, I think so.
Import, tariff. There could be tariff, there could be quotation. There are different trade barriers. But what it means is that there's no free trade in such country. So it is the duty of the government of a country to decide if it wants to relate with other countries or it doesn't want to relate with other countries. But if the government of a country place restriction on trade with other countries will do it to that country too. We call it retaliation. So if Turkey banned Libya and other countries from coming to Turkey, those countries could also ban Libya. Those countries could also ban Turkey. That is retaliation. So most of the time, government of different countries do not want trade restriction because it will affect them also in the long run. Because each country has its strength.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it?
Yes.
So that's the point they are making. So it depends on the government to encourage international trade or to discourage international trade. Clear?
Yes.
So government also vary in their policies towards foreign multinational companies wanting to set up in their country. Some governments seek to attract them, believing they will generate jobs and increase the output that is produced in the country. Other governments stop foreign MNCs setting up in their countries as they think they will drive domestic firms out of business. The first thing we talked about with government, role of government internationally. Are you with me, please?
Yes.
The first thing we talked about, the role of government internationally, is international trade. Either the government allow international trade or discourage international trade. That's the first one. The second one is about multinational companies. When we talk about multinational companies, we're talking about companies that have their head office situated in one country and have different branches or plants in other countries. Some governments would allow multinationals to set up in their country because they feel with multinationals setting up in their country, it will increase the employment opportunity in such country, it will increase their output, and it could improve their GDP. That is the mindset of some government. Other governments would think, no, multinationals coming into their country would chase away the local industries or local businesses, would take over the local market, which might not be good for them. So some countries would not allow MNCs, while other countries will allow. It depends on what their regulations are, what their policies are. That is the second point. Do you get it?
Yes.
So the third point is some governments are also members of trade blocs, such as the European Union, the African Union, and the rest. Trade blocs promote trade between the member countries and may restrict trade with non-members. There's trade bloc, which would like the Arab, like Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, Sudan, the Arab world. Yes. You might be able to trade with each other freely because you have a trade bloc. You belong to one area. So you see, we feel like because we are Arab, we speak Arab together. So let's create this bloc. So we will trade freely with ourselves. We won't sell to other continents. We won't sell to other countries. If you are not part of the Arab world, we're not going to sell to you. And we might sell to you, but restricted in different terms. Terms that are difficult to abide with. Do you understand?
Barriers.
So do you get barriers? Yes. So another way which government can decide is using trade blocs. So they deal with countries that surrounds them and leave aside countries that does not belong to their vicinity. Is that clear?
Yes.
So those are the ways in which government can influence internationally and locally. For locally, government can create jobs. Those goods that cannot be provided by the public sector, government will provide them locally. By the private sector, the government will provide them. Government will create employment. Government will increase wages. Government could decide to subsidize for firms to be able to increase employment. That is locally. Internationally, that's locally. Internationally, we talked about free trade and international trade. We talked about multinational companies. We talked about trading blocs. So these are government influence, both locally and internationally. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Any question about that?
No.
So we'll go to the questions. The first question says, what is the name of an industry in which the most efficient numbers of firms is one?
Monopoly.
What is the name of industry?
Monopoly.
The most efficient number of firms is one.
B.
Natural monopoly.
Yes.
Thank you. Question 2. In what type of economy are most workers employed by the government?
Economy.
In what type of economy are most workers employed by the government? Planned economy. Thank you. The third question. A government decides to limit the wage increase of state employees. What is it most likely trying to achieve? If government decides to reduce wage increase of state employees, what is government trying to do?
Decreasing wage. That's it. Decreasing wage.
So what is government trying to achieve?
A reduction in employment. It's A.
No.
But they don't want to reduce employment because It's B.
B.
Yeah, B.
It's reduction in inflationary pressure. Because we said if income increases, demand for goods and services increases. And that brings about demand pull inflation. So government could use wage decrease to reduce the demand for goods in an economy.
Because it will reduce the income of the employees.
And it will reduce demand, aggregate demand. Question 4. They said, okay.
This question 4.
Question 4. from a planned economy to a market economy is most likely to reduce what? If government is moving from the planned economy to a market economy is what?
From plan to market.
Yeah.
Employment in the agriculture. From plan to
Market is more likely to reduce what?
self-employment. I know.
When they are moving from planned economy to market economy, what will it reduce? It will reduce employment in the public sector.
V.